Hey everyone, welcome back to Corporate Decoder, the place where we take a peek behind the curtain of big companies and see what's really going on. And today we are diving into Southwest Gas Holdings and Southwest Gas Corporation, their latest quarterly report. And let me tell you, there's quite a bit to unpack here, especially when we look at the sales of their Centuri business, like selling off pieces of the company to raise cash. So let's cut straight to the chase and look at the money side of things right away. We're looking at the financial picture as of June 30th, 2025 for both the holding company Southwest Gas Holdings and its main operating subsidiary Southwest Gas Corporation. First up, the balance sheet for Southwest Gas Holdings shows their assets and liabilities. Remember, this is a snapshot of what the company owns and owes at a specific moment. As of June 30, 2025, total assets were about $12.2 billion, a slight increase from around $12 billion at the end of 2024. This isn't a huge jump, but it shows the company is still growing its overall footprint. One really interesting number here is the non-controlling interest. That balance jumped from about $177 million at the end of 2024 to over $441 million by June 30th, 2025. This jump is mostly tied to those Centuri stock sales we've been hearing about, meaning other people now own a bigger piece of parts of the company. Now let's look at how the company actually made money or lost money with their income statement for the 3 and 6 month periods ending June 30. Total operating revenues for the company in the second quarter of 2025 were about $1.12 billion. That's a bit lower than the same period in 2024 when they brought in almost $1.8 billion. But look at the utility infrastructure services business, Centuri. Revenues there were up to $724 million from $672 million in the prior year. So even though the natural gas part saw a dip, the infrastructure services part is definitely growing. When we get down to the bottom line, Southwest Gas Holdings actually reported a net loss of over $12 million in the second quarter of 2025. This is a big change from the same quarter in 2024 when they made almost $18.5 million, $18.5 million. And for the first 6 months of the year combined, the net income attributable to Southwest Gas Holdings was about $101 million. That's down from over $106 million in the same period last year. The income tax expense related to the Centuri sales really hit them hard this year. Let's check out the cash flow statement to see where the cash is actually coming from and going to. For Southwest Gas Holdings, cash from operations was down significantly in the first half of 2025, about $417 million compared to over $85 million in the first half of 2024. A big reason for this drop is the change in how they collect money for gas costs. But look at financing activities. They brought in almost $449 million from selling Centuri stock in the first 6 months of 2025. They used this cash to pay down debt, which is a smart move. Now for Southwest Gas Corporation's own financial statements, they're the operational side of the business. Southwest Gas Corporation's total assets were around $9.7 billion as of June 30, 2025, a bit up from $9.5 billion at the end of 2024. Their plant and equipment represent the bulk of this. They've got healthy retained earnings showing they've made money over time, which is good. Retained earnings for Southwest Gas Corporation were close to $1.996 billion at the end of 2024 and grew to about $1.228 billion by June 30, 2025. For Southwest Gas Corporation alone, they had a really strong second quarter with a net income of over $33 million. This is up from about $27.5 million in the same quarter last year. And for the first 6 months combined, their net income was over $173 million in the prior year. That's good performance from the core business. As for the company's business, they're mainly in two areas. Southwest Gas delivers natural gas in Arizona, Nevada, and California. Centuri, on the other hand, is all about installing and maintaining utility infrastructure services like gas and electric lines across North America. The big story here is the ongoing separation of Centuri. They had an initial public offering or IPO back in April 2024, and since then Southwest Gas Holdings has been selling off chunks of its Centuri shares. By June 30th, 2025, they owned about 53.30% of Centuri, and even further reduced their stake to 52.1% by July 2025. This is a major strategic move to simplify the company structure. Looking at revenue breakdown, the natural gas side saw revenues drop in the second quarter of 2025 compared to 2024. This is mostly because gas prices were a bit lower in 2025, and those costs are passed through to customers, so lower prices mean lower reported revenue. But remember, their profit isn't tied to the gas price itself thanks to what they call decoupling mechanisms. That means they can still make money even if customers use less gas. And their utility infrastructure services business, Centuri, that's the real growth engine right now. Revenues from that segment were up nearly 8% in the second quarter of 2025 compared to last year. When it comes to debt, Southwest Gas Holdings has a bit over $4.3 billion in long-term debt. They also have short-term debt and credit facilities to manage day-to-day needs. They're actively managing it as seen in the amendments to their credit agreements and prepayments on a term loan. Let's talk about how each part of the business is doing. The natural gas operations, Southwest Gas contributed over $33 million to the company's results in the second quarter. Centuri, the infrastructure services part, contributed about $5.7 million in the same period. However, the other category, which is basically corporate costs and the impact of selling Centuri stock, showed a loss of over $22 million. This shows how much the Centuri separation is impacting the overall numbers right now. For Southwest Gas's natural gas distribution business, operating income in the second quarter of 2025 was a healthy $65 million in the prior year. This growth was thanks to rate relief and customer growth. Centuri's utility infrastructure services segment, however, saw its operating income slightly decrease to about $32 million from $33 million in the same quarter last year. Even though revenues were up, higher operating expenses and separation costs trimmed the profit. These utility companies are heavily regulated and rate cases are super important. Southwest Gas filed rate cases in Arizona, Nevada, and California. The decisions they got, like in Arizona, approved revenue increases, but generally less than they asked for. These regulatory decisions really shape their financial performance. In terms of cash and their ability to pay bills, Southwest Gas Holdings is managing its cash well. They finished the quarter with around $356 million in cash across the company. They don't expect to issue more stock this year and have refinanced their credit lines to give them more flexibility. Overall, Southwest Gas Holdings is in a period of major transition with the sale of Centuri. The core natural gas distribution business is performing steadily, showing good operational income and growth. Centuri's infrastructure services segment is also growing in terms of revenue, but its profitability is being squeezed by higher expenses and the costs associated with the separation. The company's financial health seems okay, especially with the cash from Centuri sales being used to pay down debt and refinance credit lines. The strategy here really is to simplify the business and focus on what remains after Centuri is fully spun off. The regulatory environment remains key for the natural gas operations, and they're actively managing their debt to maintain good credit ratings. What do you think about Southwest Gas's strategy of selling off parts of its business? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If you found this breakdown helpful, hit that like button and subscribe for more deep dives into company filings. And don't forget to join our Discord community linked in the description for even more insights and discussions. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.